5 meal tips for those of you diagnosed with diabetes to include in your routine and better control your diabetes diagnosis, whether it's pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or type 1 diabetes. So let's get to it. And recipe number 1 is heart of palm spaghetti. Remembering that all the recipes are part of my glucose in check kit, which are recipes that serve as a guide for you to start improving your daily life when it comes to making the best choices for what you eat. So heart of palm spaghetti is a great option for you if you want to vary your meals. It has almost no carbohydrates. This recipe will always be here by my side. All the others will be too. And they really make a significant difference when it comes to effectively managing and improving your overall diabetes diagnosis. So in this recipe, we use fresh heart of palm, we use ripe tomatoes, we use crunchy walnuts, and we use fragrant basil. It is incredibly important that you consistently add fresh herbs and wholesome ingredients whenever you are preparing your daily meals. Why? Because flavor is, of course, very important. So basil is such a wonderful aromatic herb. You can really smell that fresh scent, and it's just so good for having that lovely, satisfying feeling of eating well. It really makes a difference. So besides heart of palm spaghetti, we can use zucchini, cut it into strips, and that's how we substitute it. Why? Because heart of palm isn't exactly cheap. Zucchini, on the other hand, is an excellent substitute. So that's how we assemble our dishes, through smart choices. And here on the side, I'll also include the tomato sauce recipe. And then you can also use this recipe to make your heart of palm spaghetti, your zucchini spaghetti, or to make that Bolognese sauce. You add ground meat, and Bolognese sauce is very good for those diagnosed with diabetes. Why? Because it has protein, it has good sources of fat. We also have the addition of fresh, vibrant tomatoes, which allows us to prepare a much more flavorful and enjoyable meal. Incorporating these into your cooking really makes a significant difference, especially when you are actively working on improving your diet and want your healthy meals to feel truly satisfying. I am reminding you once again that these are essential tips designed to help you improve your treatment plan. Try to use them one day, then the next, and keep going. By consistently following this routine, you will gradually shape your entire perspective regarding what you should choose to eat whenever you are having your daily meals. Another tip that is very important is cauliflower rice. It is very easy to make tasty, and you can use it as a versatile staple. Then what is that? You add cauliflower in place of rice, or add cauliflower along with the rice, and then you will be substituting it. Instead of eating 100 grams of rice, you eat 50 grams of cauliflower and 50 grams of rice. You already reduce the amount of carbohydrates you are going to eat. And that is how we improve the meal. We can also make broccoli rice, right? Rice with broccoli. Adding that fried garlic makes it very tasty, and it's easy to make. It's practical, it's not expensive, and you can make it right there in your home. So we have the cauliflower rice recipe: a large head of cauliflower, olive oil, cloves of garlic and an onion, boiling water, coarse salt to taste, and parsley to taste. And that is how we improve our diet with smart choices. At this time of year, a soup goes down very well, and chicken and vegetable soup makes all the difference, especially on colder days. So chicken breast, which has no fat, is very beneficial for diabetics, and you should eat it in your daily life. Water cauliflower, carrots, zucchini, onion, olive oil, and then you'll season it again. Salt to taste, parsley to taste, and a bay leaf. And then we are going to take the next step to really improve our whole meal by adding a lot more depth and flavor to every single bite. You have to have seasonings in your food, and that's how we keep improving. Another really excellent and delicious option you might consider is using nut farofa. So a little farofa with cauliflower rice, broccoli rice, and then you add the Bolognese sauce, a little bit of cheese. You have a complete meal. And the nut farofa takes onion, garlic, butter, eggs, which are very welcome for those who have diabetes, almond flour, which doesn't have such an exaggerated amount of carbohydrates like cassava flour, for example, or corn flour, chives, cashew nuts, golden flaxseed, sunflower seeds. And you will have a much smarter meal. So if you notice, I've already given more than 5 meal tips here, but you have to understand it's from there that you start putting together your meals, whether it's the nut farofa with cauliflower rice or broccoli rice with garlic, with some ground beef, a chicken breast with a Bolognese sauce. And that's how you go about assembling your meals. And a recipe that I really like to make is eggplant lasagna. It is a fantastic dish where you will get to use something you have already learned, which is that delicious homemade tomato sauce. For the filling, you will use ground beef, which provides a great source of protein. And then instead of using traditional lasagna noodles, you will use thinly sliced eggplant, which adds a wonderful texture and flavor to the entire meal. So it's a great swap, very smart, that won't cause your glucose to spike, and you'll get to eat your cheese, you'll get to eat your Bolognese sauce, and then you'll have meals that really change your treatment. So the eggplant lasagna uses eggplants, it will use onion, it will use garlic, it will use, the homemade tomato sauce, it will use ham. But Edu, can a diabetic eat ham? You can, but what you can't do is eat ham every day in large quantities because it has a lot of sodium, it's ultra processed, but in a targeted way, once a month, once every 2 weeks for a Sunday lunch, it won't cause problems. What you can't do is eat a French roll with ham, mozzarella, and butter every day. And then you make a grilled ham and cheese sandwich, in this case in a cast iron skillet, and then you add butter, you add the ham, you add the bread. Then unfortunately that's not great, but if you use it intelligently, you can eat it. So that's how we improve our diet. Now the next recipe is chicken and eggplant stroganoff. But Edu, there's already eggplant lasagna, can't it be something else? Yes, you absolutely can. You could add chicken with hearts of palm, or you can just make a classic chicken stroganoff. You also have the option to add mushrooms, or even toss in some fresh zucchini or chayote. Really, that is exactly how you build your own perfect version of a stroganoff. What is the big problem when eating stroganoff? Too much fat, too much rice, too many shoestring potatoes. And then it doesn't work. If you eat rice and shoestring potatoes have a lot of carbohydrates, they have a lot of fat. Rice already has a considerable amount of carbohydrates, so your glucose will spike. But if you make chicken stroganoff with eggplant, cauliflower rice, or broccoli rice, you've already put together a much smarter dish. And then you set aside that excess white rice. You also set aside those shoestring potatoes, and you eat your stroganoff, which will have chicken fillet, salt, black pepper, olive oil, onion, eggplant. It will also have peeled tomatoes, mustard, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, heavy cream, and chopped parsley to taste. But Edu, isn't Worcestershire sauce bad for you? Everything depends on the amount you're going to eat. If you only add a little bit, it won't cause that much harm. You don't need to either give it up completely or eat it uncontrollably. You have to find a balance when it comes to eating. And that's how you start to understand how to improve your treatment. And here I'll take the opportunity to share a little dessert recipe for those who stayed until the end. So if you stayed until the end, comment here, Edu, I love the dessert. And then I'll know that you watched until now, and that makes me very motivated. Why? Because you want to learn more. So the recipe here for coconut cake, which is very practical and easy to make, takes 4 eggs, 100 grams of fresh coconut. So yes, diabetics can have fresh coconut, 2 tablespoons of almond flour, a flour that has a low amount of carbohydrates, 5 tablespoons of xylitol, and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, right? We are talking about a coconut cake here, 200 ml of coconut milk, so it's very interesting, a lot of coconut flavor present, and a tablespoon of chemical baking powder. Why? Because we need to give it the consistency of a coconut cake, and so the baking powder is used so that the batter can rise. And that is how we improve our diet with intelligence, incorporating foods in the right way, in a controlled way, in a regulated way, and improving our treatment in a simple and practical way. Remember, all the recipes are part of the Glycosemia kit. There are recipes for everyday life. There is planning. There is also a weekly shopping list, a weekly planner, a very complete kit that everyone will like. Link in the description. Don't miss out on being a part of it too. If you've been watching until now, it's a sign that you like the content. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on notifications. And most importantly, don't forget to share this video with that friend of yours who might have doubts when it comes to putting together recipes and meals. Why? Because it costs you nothing to share it on social media right there on the phone you're watching on. So grab your phone, share the videos, spread this content to many other people, and that way the channel keeps growing. And I'm always motivated to bring content here for you. Isn't that right? Now I want you to stop everything you're doing and give your rating from 0 to 10. What score does this video deserve? And comment here that you got the dessert recipe and that you're watching this video with me until the end. Isn't that right? That one there, I'll leave some super content, so don't stop binge watching the channel to learn more about health, nutrition, diabetes, quality of life, treatment, and smart diagnosis without complications and with a lot of heat, with a lot of health. So we leave it here. May you all be with God and see you later.